Greetings, fellow mech warriors and Skye Rangers cadets. We're going to discuss in this video some of the basic tips and tricks that help enhance our gameplay when playing Mech Warrior Online. The first thing that you're going to notice when you first drop into a match is that you're probably going to be in third-person point of view. This is turned on by default. It can be turned off in the settings menu. There's a checkbox that says start in third person. Uncheck it and then you won't be in third person every time you drop. Third person point of view gives us the advantage of being outside of our mech, viewing the world through a camera. View is a little less obstructed by the cockpit glass and frame. However, it can be obstructed, for instance if I'm going to try and target that enemy, by my own mech. So, it is recommended that you fight and pilot your mech in first-person point of view. To do that, we're going to switch by hitting F4. Okay, we're now in the cockpit. You'll notice that we have a few more screens than we did in third person. For instance, in the top left corner of the screen, we have our lance information. Now, because I'm in the training grounds and dropping here by myself, there's only me listed in the lance, and I am listed as player instead of my call sign. You'll also notice that next to my name is my mech status. In this case, it is 100%, which means that I've taken no damage, either to my armor or internal structure. Looking down at the bottom left, you will see the mech paper doll. This also shows that I am piloting a Victor, in this case the 9S variant. Now, the paper doll has indicators for armor and interior damage, and the indicators will show up as either yellow for light damage, orange for medium damage, or red for critical damage. When a section goes black, it means that it is gone. And as some of us may know, losing both legs or losing your center torso or your head will destroy your mech utterly and you will be out of that match. So it's always a good idea to keep an eye on your status and make sure that if you can, turn away from laser fire to present a less damaged area that can take a hit rather than losing something that's critical. Moving into the center and bottom of the screen, we now have our speed indicator, our jump jet indicator, our radar display, and our heat indicator. Starting with the speed indicator at the far left, this bar will go up if we move forward and go back if we move backward. Fairly simple. Jump jets, the next one over to the right. This indicates our fuel reserve for our jumping capabilities. This mech is equipped with jump jets. Not every mech is. Jump jets help you clear obstacles that you normally could not clear just by walking or running, and sometimes it can be used as a tactic to jump over a friend or enemy to get behind them. When you jump, you want to make sure that you try and reserve a little reserve fuel to cushion your landing, because if you don't, it is possible to damage the legs of your mech from a high fall. To do this, we're going to engage the jump jets by hitting space, and then about halfway or a little beyond halfway, we're going to quickly remove our finger from the space bar. As we start to fall, we re-engage the jets by holding down the space bar, and this will give us just enough thrust to cushion the landing so that we don't hit as hard and actually damage vital components of our mech. I'm going to demonstrate that now. I jump up, I let it go, and I engage it to land safely and softly. Now, is it possible to jump if I do not have a full jump reserve? Well, the answer is, of course, yes you can. However, you'll notice that my jumps are very small and I have very little fuel to actually clear obstacles. So it's usually best to wait until your jump jets are fully restocked so that you can jump higher and over things. The radar display, we're going to skip over that for a second and go over to our heat indicator. Now when you notice that I jumped, the heat indicator went up, and then it gradually goes back down by our heat sinks. Heat is very important because if you overheat in a mech, for example, if you go to 100% or more, your mech will shut down. And if you are in the middle of a bunch of enemies, when your mech shuts down, you are a sitting duck. Additionally, if your heat is high enough when you shut down, you can damage the internal structure of your center torso. Do that too often and you will blow up your mech. Now I'm going to simulate overheating right now by firing my PPCs. And it should take about 4 or 5 shots before my mech overheats.
Critical.
Now you'll notice my mech immediately shut down when I overheated. And after a moment it comes back. Looking over at my paper doll in the bottom left, you'll notice that my interior section has become yellow. The armor surrounding it is still fine, but the interior has been damaged lightly. Additionally, upper left, under my lance status, you'll see that I'm now sitting at 99% instead of 100. Again, heat, bad thing. Try and keep it under control. That brings us to the radar display that is in the bottom center of the cockpit view. In this display you will see the terrain that you are moving on. You will also see enemy mechs highlighted in red as a red triangle, and your mech will be the yellow triangle that is always situated in the center of the map. Even if I move around, my mech stays in the center. Friendly mechs will show up as either blue or this cayenne color that you see in my lance status screen in the upper left. The difference is those players in your lance show up in the cayenne and all the rest of your team will be blue. So it will help you differentiate who's in your lance and who's not when they're moving on the map. At the far right, bottom, you will see my weapons console. It includes my firing groups 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, which ones are activated for which weapon, the ranges at which the weapons can fire, the cooldown period, and any ammo. Notice that the PPCs have the infinity symbol. It's because they don't use ammo. They just fire so long as they're still available. So let's talk about targeting a mech now. And I'm going to move up here towards this mech. And in addition, as I move, I want to show you that on the radar display, you'll notice that we have a series of dotted lines that end in an arrow and what looks like a cone. The dotted lines represent your legs. So by turning my mech, I'm reorienting my legs, and as I move my legs around, you'll see that I turn left and right. Now, the torso can move independently of the legs. So if I move the legs, the torso, represented by the cone, I can shift it left, and I can shift it right. And you will see that even though I'm still going forward, I can still hit things to the left and to the right. Turning back around, we're going to target these enemies again. So just a little bit on movement there, and how you can use the map, the radar display, to verify in which direction you are moving and which way your torso is. So I'm going to jump up here real quick, and we're going to talk about targeting mechs. Now this first mech, a cataphract in this instance, you'll see that there is a red triangle above its head. That indicates, first, that it is an enemy, and second, that it has not been targeted. When someone targets a mech, whether it's you or a teammate, that red triangle will fill in. To target a mech, you either hang the crosshairs over it,
Target acquired.
and then it will eventually target by itself, and you'll notice that that triangle filled in. Or while it's in your view, you can hit the R key,
Target acquired.
and that will pull up a target. Now, why would I do the R key? Well, for instance, I now have two mechs in my view, one to the right and one to the left. I currently have the one to the right targeted. If I hit R,
New target
it will
acquired.
shift to the other target. And using this, I can cycle
New
through my
target
targets.
acquired.
Now, when this mech got targeted, you'll notice that there is some data that popped up on the screen. First, it shows that in the top left, in the very center, that this mech is at 100%. It has not been damaged whatsoever. You see below that the range. I am at 205 meters from the mech. You'll see that there's no pilot, and you'll see that it is a Cataphract 1X. The square red box around it indicates that this is a mech that I have targeted. Additionally, directly in the center above it, you will see the letter A, or Alpha as we call it. The very first mech that is targeted in a match by your teammates or by you gets the call sign Alpha, or A. The next mech
New target
receives
acquired.
B, Baker, and so on through Charlie,
New target acquired.
and onward down the alphabet.
New target
When
acquired.
you target a mech, if you want to let players know that you have something targeted and that maybe they should help you take it out and fire at it, you would want to call it. I have, in this case, target, Alpha, Cataphract, location, Delta 2 on the grid. Okay, that lets people know that you have targeted this mech, and they can fire on it or they can lob missiles at it depending upon their whim. When you focus fire on a mech, it helps take it down quicker, so it's usually good to call your targets. Another thing that you'll notice when this mech first became targeted, after a
Target
few
acquired.
seconds, up in the top right corner of my screen popped up the status of the target. It has its own paper doll. We see that it's a Cataphract 1X, and we see that it is loaded up with an autocannon 10, 4 medium lasers, and a PPC. Now, when I damage this target, you'll see that I hit the center torso, and in this case the armor is damaged. If you look at the difference between the armor on the Cataphract, the damage that it has taken there, and the internal structure that I've taken in the bottom left on my Victor, you see that armor is the outline and internals are the inner core. So now we've learned how to target a mech, how to move, and what a lot of these displays are inside our mech. So I hope that has helped you, and I wish you well in your hunting, Mech Warrior. Good luck from the Skye Rangers, and we hope to see you soon in a drop. Signing off.